Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this week and to my Facebook Live tonight, Helen's Focus for the week. And I thought it was obviously really good timing to tell you a little bit about how I go about my planning for the next 3 months, the final quarter or season, as I like to call it, which I think is a more feminine energy-based word. For 2018, can you believe it? We are 3 seasons down already. And this is actually, I think, one of the most important seasons because it really can make or break us in terms of what it is that we want to be doing for 2018 or for whatever year it is. And either things can fall down and we don't end up finishing on a high, or the other way to view it is that it's actually a really great opportunity to turn things around or to improve even more on what you might have been doing for the first 3 seasons, to create even more success. And that's the focus that I'd love you to be having, and that mindset, that frame of thinking, that this is just as important as any of the other seasons, if not more so, and it can be a make or break season, so it's a really important one. So what do I do in terms of my planning? And of course, the thing is to say right off the bat is that I focus my planning on quarters, or seasons, as I said, I like to call them. So I've moved away from doing purely only yearly planning, or maybe 6 monthly. And the reason I've done that, hello, lovely to join you. Okay, lovely to join you. Have you joined me, I should say? I haven't got as much light here and it was a bit harder to see it. And so, yeah, I've moved away from the yearly and 6 monthly planning, because the idea being, and I have said this before, that we can actually tend to overestimate how much we can do in a shorter period of time and underestimate how much we can do in longer. So with the focus only on the 3 months, the quarter or season, it gives us enough time to hopefully understand that we can't be doing everything in these 3 months, that we have a finite period of time. There's only so much opportunity to actually get things done, and hopefully that helps with you being realistic in what you're wanting to plan for these 3 months. Whereas 6 months or 12 months, you might think you can do it, but when we only have those 3 months, as I said, we're forced to be more realistic, and also it gives us more impetus, because it's like, wow, 3 months is obviously not as long as 6 months or 12 months, and that's a really good way to give us a bit of a kick, so to speak, to really get going and doing as much as we can. So what I do then, if I can tell you a little bit about that, is and in fact, the very first step, and that may seem like it's a bit strange because you might not have thought of doing this, or you may not see straight away how it relates. And that is that I actually start off by looking at what are the major areas of my business or my life, or both, that I want to be planning for the next 3 months, the next season. So I have done this previously, but this might be the first time you are thinking about this with what I'm saying to you. And that's a question. Do you actually know all the major areas of your business? If you were to sit down and me to ask you, what is it that you do? What are the areas of your business that you focus on? Could you actually name those? And the reason I suggest that is because what you will do if you haven't identified those already, or if you have, then to review them and then actually use those areas as the basis for your seasonal or quarter planning. So just in case you haven't done this before, I'll give you an example of what are the main areas of my business. So I have an online business. It's predominantly online and it's service-based. And of course, it's more around coaching, mentoring, and I have some modalities that I use with clients, but it is predominantly online. So the main areas of my business that I have worked out and I like to call them hats. So it depends on what hat you're wearing at any particular time in the week. And in fact, I call them success hats. So the hats that I wear are, and these are fairly generic to begin with, are administration. And I include in those, in administration, it can include the work that I do with my VA, for instance. It is also, I also include financials. Now, you might think financials deserves its own hat, and that's fine. This is very flexible, and I'm only giving you an example of what I do so you get a sense. By all means, make it work for you and identify what are the major areas of your business. As I said, you can do it for your life generally. Of course, we can be looking at the major areas of our life like health and relationships. It could be contribution or growth and other areas like that. But I think just for ease of explanation, I'll focus on the business planning for tonight. So administration, my VA, financials, and also IT website, I including that one as well. Then, of course, another really big area is marketing, and I'm sure it is or it needs to be for any business. So I include marketing. A really big component of that is content creation. So being predominantly online, I do a lot with social media, and you yourselves, you may do that as well. And so a lot of it is around the writing of the content for social media. I predominantly use Facebook and Instagram, and I'm actually going to be starting Pinterest. And it may not be this season, it might be the next one, but that's something that I want to do in the nearish future. And so it also is blogging and writing any sales pages, that type of thing. You're probably used to doing that yourselves. And also then related is, of course, sales. I do like to separate them out because I want to really prioritize the sales part. So I'm talking about working out what my sales funnel is. It's actually booking sales appointments or chats with clients. It is, of course, all the sales aspects of a promotion, of a launch and that sort of thing. So that's another area. Also, professional development. I think that it's important for us all to be learning. You might be like me and a bit of a course junkie and have done lots. And so I actually set aside some time in the week and one of the hats I wear is as a student is learning. And I'm not suggesting that you have to have equal time to these different hats, but you need to account for them in your week, or whatever the hats are, as I said, that you actually identify. Another one, of course, is client service delivery, actually delivering the sessions, or if you're a product-based business, the product. And so I have time set out in my week to be able to do that. I have a bit of flexibility, but I have certain times of the week wherein it's actually I'm more available to be able to do that. And so that's obviously another important hat that I wear. So you can see that there's different aspects of your work. And if you're not sure, even with the examples I've given, what I suggest you do is to actually monitor what you do over a couple of days, maybe a week, and categorize it into those sorts of categories or your own categories. And the reason that I suggest you do that to begin with in terms of your planning for each season is so that you are accounting for the major areas of your business in your quarterly or seasonal planning. So what I do then is actually identify for each of those main areas, the hats that you're wearing in your business, what are the things that are a couple of, I don't know if you've heard of the phrase big rocks in productivity terminology that's used quite a bit. In other words, what are the big ticket items that you want to be doing for this particular area of your business in the next quarter or season? the next 3 months. Now, you don't have to have big ones for each of the areas of your business, but if there are, then obviously you want to identify those. And then what are the more, what I call business as usual, the more, perhaps I'm used to referring to that as a program type thing. What are the run-of-the-mill things that you do to keep the wheels going on a day-to-day basis? They're not as big as the big rocks. The big rocks tend to be projects. They often are time limited, and it might be the gearing up to something or the actual implementation of something. And of course, you can only do a few of those in the 3 months. So if you actually identify what are the big rocks and the little rocks in each of the major areas of your business, and then from those, I, of course, being spiritual, intuitive, I love being intuitive, and I actually sit with those. If I don't feel I have a good sense of what I'm going to focus on in particular for the quarter, I sit with it and identify how it feels in my body, just feel into it, use my intuition, and decide based on that. And maybe there's other external factors as well. And hopefully you've got, even though I only talk about planning for the next quarter or season, I still think that we need to connect that to our overall vision with our business, and maybe a projection of the next, say, 3 years, but holding it loosely. I'm not about scheduling every month and all that sort of stuff. That's just too much, because things change. So if you identify, as I said, what are the big rocks, the little rocks in each of the areas of your business, and then using this process, intuitive process, and you can journal if you want, and whatever process you find works for you, to identify, okay, here's all my options in all the areas of my business, in particular the big rocks. What are, I'm going to cherry pick now, so to speak, what are the big cherries or the big rocks that I really want to work on to progress my business in this next quarter? So for me, it is the promoting and the undertaking, or the hosting of my group mentoring program, which is really, really, really exciting. That's starting just in fact next week, and that is a Productivity Rebels boot camp, which I'm really, really excited about. So that's going to take a fair chunk of the quarter or season. Another one for me this season is to prepare for a systemind that I am really, really, really excited about. So, of course, I'm not into masterminds as such, that masculine energy. I know I've been involved in systemind, and there's so much empowering that can happen. And of course, for me, and the way that I think about systemind and how I can serve my clients best is around having a productivity focus and accountability, but in a loving way. So that's there's going to be quite a bit of preparation for that, for this season, with the intention that will start on the 1st of January next year, in terms of a 3-month, in fact, academy that I'm developing, and the Systemind is a big part of that. So it's really exciting. There's a lot of work to actually get to that point of it starting in the new year. So that in itself is a big rock or a project. And also I am wanting to really establish me using Be Live TV. You may have seen the masterclass with Adair Palmer last week, and if you haven't, I really recommend you having a watch. There's a lot in it. It might take a few goes to get a sense of it, but it is really exciting, and it has a lot of power to move, and with the chat bots as well, to actually be able to be getting in touch with our clients in a more meaningful and a quicker way as well. And the whole idea of Be Live TV, which has advantages over Facebook Live, and actually having my own, TV show on my business page, which is really exciting. So they're examples of my big rocks. Now they're pretty substantial, and so then that's all of it. I really suggest no more than 2 or 3 big projects for each quarter or season. It depends on how big they are. It might be that there's only one that you will have capacity for. If they're not too big, you might be able to do the 3, and then maybe some smaller, the smaller rocks, so to speak, as well. But of course, taking into account the business as usual, the day-to-day running of the business, the checking the emails, and being involved in social media and that sort of thing. Another area actually of business that's just come to my mind is innovation. It's actually a really important one to consider, and that's where I see my Sister Mine and Academy actually falling in. Is I haven't done it before, so this is an opportunity to innovate and develop that in this quarter or season. So then what you want to be doing is to having identified what are the big rocks and the little rocks and the business as usual, then actually starting to prioritize it in terms of your calendar or diary, whatever you use, whether it's paper-based, whether it's the Kanban board that I love using, or Trello, or whatever it is. It's looking at starting to prioritize what can I do first. And you may need to, if you've got the big rocks, to start to unpack that more. Because obviously you can't just dump on one day developing or delivering my group mentoring program or something like that. So you need to perhaps spend some time unpacking that and identifying what are the major sort of milestones with it. I've got a project management background, but I've always found it hard to really, when unfortunately with a lot of the corporate planning, you're supposed to plan to the nth degree. And often it can be hard because you can't always predict what's going to be happening. And often we can know the first step or the first few steps, but not the 20th step or the 30th step or whatever it might be. So you want to have just some rough outline of what's going to be needed, and putting in some estimations of some guesstimates of when major things need to be done. And I'm such a believer in our intuition and our spontaneity that I trust that we will be guided by or to know what the next steps are along the way. So again, I'm really into balance. You probably picked that up by now. So I like having some sort of form, structure to the timing of what you're doing over the quarter, but also allowing some space for that flexibility and the intuitiveness, your intuition as well. Knowing that when you have that flexibility, and this is what happens a lot with project work, is that you start off in one direction and then it may actually veer a little bit. So, we need to be, I think, best if we're flexible in that way. So by the end of however long this takes you, and of course you may have started because we are now at the very first day of this current season. Hopefully you've actually done it before now, but it's not too late if you haven't. But I do really, really recommend that you give some thought to this. When we plan, we are able to understand really what's involved in what it is that we're doing. And it can excite us because that's what we want. And with this visioning, it's just really, really, really powerful. You have frozen for me, Helen. Oh my goodness. Oh, I hope it's not like what happened in our Facebook Live, Kay. I'll keep going and I'll have a look and see what's happened there. That's really weird. As I said, hopefully it's not too much of a problem. So where was I? Yes, about the value of the visioning and the planning. So I really do encourage you to take the time, if you can this week. It's not too late. And by all means, let me know if you have any questions, any comments about it. Now, this is the sort of thing that I'm covering in my group mentoring program. I'm going to be posting in the group more information about it. I am really, really excited. And so I encourage you to have a look at that, and I'm actually going to put in a link for if anyone is interested, if you're interested, to make a time with me so we can have a 10 to 15 minute chat about the program. So I will leave it there in case I've frozen and you can only hear my voice. And I hope this has stimulated you thinking, given you some ideas about what you can be doing for your quarterly or seasonal planning. And even if you have planned, it'd be good to actually compare what you've done with some of the things that I've suggested and the way that I go about it. It's actually a fun process, and you want to make it fun as best as you can, whether it's groovy music, whether you're doing it in a gorgeous location. Planning is not meant to be boring and dry. Ugh, yuck. Anyway, I will love you and leave you, and look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.